consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or orally, to one or more members of the public body.
I'll second. Any discussion? Ms. Kronberg, would you please roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I make a motion that we come out of non-public.
Second.
Second.
Lauren seconded.
Roll call, Ms. Kronberg?
Yes? Yes.
Yes.
Come back to him at the end.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the meeting for 5 years.
I'll second that.
Second.
No,
Go ahead.
you got it. Mr. Peachum.
And all in favor, roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're resuming our regular meeting, and the next topic on the agenda is the fiscal health of the district. As chair of the Claremont School Board, it is my responsibility to just bring this topic to the table and to introduce it to the public. And we have bad news. I can only view our current situation through the eyes of a taxpayer, a mother, and someone who wants to see Claremont reach its full potential. So it gives me no pleasure to convey to the public and to the board writ large that as of fiscal year 25, we have a massive deficit, anywhere between $1 and $5 million. This deficit leaves the district in a position where we are struggling to keep doors open and to pay fundamental aspects of payroll, health benefits. We have some actions in place, and our district's representative, Mr. O'Shaughnessy, is here to discuss what our potential actions are.
Thanks, Chair. My name is Jim O'Shaughnessy from the Drummond Woodson Law Firm, and I am District Counsel. I've been working with the administration and the board for a couple of weeks now, trying to identify the nature of the issue, and it's kind of a moving target, but the most recent information from the auditor is that there is a significant deficit that you're carrying over as an operating deficit from last year to this year. This also happens at the same time the administration has received communications from a variety of vendors, like our health insurance provider, that there are large payments that have been in arrears where the district is behind, and it's become readily apparent to myself and the administration and the board that the district's ability to meet its obligations to pay those bills is at risk, because there is, at this point, insufficient cash flow on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis to make all those payments as they become due. A lot of these payments are now being held off, and they're seeing the district having to pay some amounts and not pay other obligations. I would call this a state of fiscal distress for the district. It's in conversations we've had with the state, it is clearly a concern the state has regarding the district's fiscal solvency in both the short and long term. So this is a very serious situation. We are in the process right now. So just to kind of recap, on Tuesday, the administration and members of the board and myself met with the Commissioner of Education, Caitlin Davis, as well as the supervisor for the Bureau of Public School Finance, as well as representatives from the Division of Revenue Administration, and lawyers, 2 different lawyers from the state, to bring them up to speed on the situation, and convey the kind of gravity of what we're facing. And also to present both a short-term and a hopefully a more long-term plan, to keep the doors open, to pay employees, to make sure that the school district is operable and running and is able to continue running for the duration of the school year. I would call it like a plan. The superintendent and business administration have been trying to put together a short-term plan. They've been working with the city. Adequacy money is coming from the state and on September 1st, all of which is cash flow that will help the district meet its needs, but these are short-term solutions. The Commissioner for Education has asked the administration for an update by the end of day tomorrow on how those obligations are going to be met through September, and then longer term, October, November, December. I think the focus is really on what is the, I'll call it the financial recovery plan. Like, what's the plan? How is the district going to get itself out of this situation? I'm going to start by saying, I don't think there's any precedent in New Hampshire for this. I'm not aware of any school district that's faced quite this large of a deficit in combination with a cash flow issue. So it's a really, really big challenge with not a lot of history to know what the plan is. There are a couple of actions we've already identified that we could take. One, and this was encouraged by the state, although we are still evaluating this option, would be to petition Sullivan County Superior Court for permission to hold a special meeting, the purpose of which would be to ask for a supplemental appropriation to get more money into the budget. And we wouldn't be talking about a small appropriation. It would have to be, given the size of the deficiency, a fairly large appropriation. It will probably take years to completely fix the deficit, but to be able to keep the district afloat and not have to go week to week, month to month with a cash flow crisis, it would have to request a significant amount of money. In order to be permitted to hold a special meeting, the judge has to agree that an emergency exists, and there are a lot of factors that go into demonstrating an emergency. It's by no means an easy process, and it's one we're taking into consideration and evaluating. We haven't decided at this point whether to move forward with that. The second, probably most obvious part of the plan would be to figure out where in the budget cuts can be made to try to save and free up some cash, and that's something I think is a moving target that the administration is continuing to work on. We are working with the state. The Commissioner of Education is aware, and she's monitoring the situation. I think the governor's office has been brought up to speed and is at least aware of the situation, and has not become involved yet, but we'll be monitoring as I think this develops, because this is a pretty significant situation for the school district.
Okay. I'd like to open up to questions from the board, of the administration, or the finance subcommittee. Mr. Madden?
Is this just questions, or can we also voice opinions?
It's up to you.
Okay. So I found you to be very impressive. I think in April, we had the first inkling that there was a problem, or officially anyway, we brought that to the public. And I was very unhappy with the way we went. I think the presentation was somewhat deceptive. The fact that we're sitting here tonight and we're talking about many millions of dollars, at that time we were talking about 1 million, maybe as high as $1.5 million. We put fancy words and names to the problem. I think we hid behind our lawyer. We let our lawyer do all our speaking for us. Our lawyer named the problem. He called it a structural deficit. Well, the first thing I did when I went home was take out a 40-year-old Black's Law Dictionary, and I looked up structural deficit. It wasn't in Black's Law Dictionary. I looked in Webster's. It wasn't in Webster's. I did a Google to get a colloquial definition of a structural deficit. The closest thing that I could find that was appropriate is in reference to government spending, where over a continuous period of time, or repetitive, and I'm paraphrasing from memory now, you have receipts that aren't matched, aren't covering expenses. And it further elaborated that this was because of natural disasters, hurricanes, volcanoes, fires, pandemics. You get the gist. None of that applies here. From what we've been told, this is because of negligence, mismanagement, and we've been told there's nothing nefarious. But in 3 months, we go from $1 million to X, and I don't even know what X is. So I hope we're contemplating looking at this from a forensic point of view too, because I can't understand how we go from 1 to X. So that's the first thing I want to get off my chest. And at that time, I said I would not support going back to the taxpayers. No way. Lauren can tell you about his father and the squeeze that he's in paying his taxes. I know there's senior citizens that can't afford an increase. I know one woman that I became acquainted with last winter. She had a fire. She was homeless. You know what senior citizens do. After their mortgage is paid, they look for ways to save money and not have expenses, and they get rid of their insurance. They stop making their insurance payments. And this is what that woman was up against. So I've been told that I'm heartless, I'm not thinking about the kids, I don't know about education. I know right from wrong, and I know about business. So I've been asking whether or not the IRS payments have been made, and I can't get an answer.
Can you?
They have.
They have, okay.
IRS payments are being made.
That's good news.
Yep,
Up to date?
up to date. Oh, yes, up to date. Every payroll they get paid. On the Friday, payroll goes out.
Now, what hasn't been explicitly stated, but I gotta ask the question. Is there a threat to school opening in 2 weeks? If we're talking about these many millions of dollars, I gotta assume
There's a threat.
we're in jeopardy. So at this point, do we warn the parents? Do we warn the teachers? Hey, and you know what that's going to do to us for the next 10, 15 years trying to hire people? And it's because of mismanagement. Us. I also think we got to get the word out. We got to tell the parents, get on the computer, sign your kid up for as many VLAX courses as you can possibly take. And when everybody from the city of Claremont tries to get on board, I know when my son was doing it, we had as much as 1 month to get on between the time you sign up and you get an instructor assigned. So, you know, I was telling one of my board members that my kid's in the Marine Corps boot camp now, and today, on YouTube, Kenny Chesney came on, and the song is Don't Blink, because 100 years goes by faster than you think. And I swear it was a blink that my kid came to live with me 3 years ago. And now we really, really let down at least one generation of kids. And it's also, I find it hard to believe. I think the term that's been used is nothing nefarious has taken place. I don't know how you go from 1 million to X million in 3 months and nothing nefarious has taken place. I won't support going back to the taxpayers asking for more money. And Mr. O'Shaughnessy, you said something about state appropriations. Are we talking about grants from the state or borrowing from the state?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I think the purpose of, it's all the same thing, going back and asking for money is the term is an appropriation, so I'm not aware of the state, at least the Department of Education, just to clarify, like, they don't have,
Extra money.
the money to hand out to districts, they don't have a mechanism or authority under the law to just, hey, here's a couple of $1 million, so the only way you get cash, to oversimplify, is access current grant money that is available and you may or may not be able to access depending on whether you have programs that qualify. Appropriate more money, which means go back to the taxpayers. Those are the only, or the state comes through with some miraculous act, but I don't think that's happening either. So it's find the cuts, or go to court and ask for permission and then ask the voters for more money. And that's a multi-step process, to be clear. That's another meeting. It's a full meeting with a deliberative session, warrant article, and then a voting at the ballots by the whole city. So it's not, that's why I said we are at the stages of evaluating that as an option, because nobody thinks that's a smooth sail process or something that we are even willing to pursue at this time. It's in an evaluative stage.
Can I clarify real quick?
Yes, sir.
So the 3 million that we talked, I was on that call, the Zoom call, with the state the other day because Chair Whitney was unavailable. The 3 million that we're talking about coming from the state is money that's due to us. It's not extra funds. It's the money that is due.
Okay.
That's when so the September 1st is when that money is due to come in.
Now, that's your state adequacy.
Right, that's the adequacy aid that's coming in. The state cannot send us that any sooner than when it's due, and it's due September 1st. The other piece that was talked about on the meeting, and I don't know if anyone wants to elaborate, was a plan to get us through August and September to be able to open the doors on schedule. So that was a plan.
Passed to the administration.
Right.
Can you explain, so the public understands the difference between the current deficit that we are facing, the fiscal year '25, and the structural deficit that's been referenced?
Not really.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I object to the word structural deficit.
Well, we're separate issues. So what we're trying to do is what we need to do and please tell me.
I don't think
I'm
I'm not the person who's qualified to explain the difference or what it is. Honestly, I'm an attorney, I understand the law, but I don't really think I have a great grasp on the difference between the 2021 and the 21-22 and the 23 audit report showing a deficit, and then the 25 deficit.
Is separate.
I know they're separate, but I can't explain how or why, it's just not. I don't think it's not really my job. I'm not a finance director. Or
No,
business
you're not.
administrator.
Well, I'd like to address that if I could, in the sense.
Then Mr. Pratt.
Okay. Mr. Sprague and I were in a meeting for an hour this afternoon with Mike Campbell, who is our who is our auditor, with Mr. Pratt.
Yep.
And I asked the question to him, how does the structural deficit fall into this current deficit? And he said, don't even talk about the structural deficit at this point. Your total focus should be on your current year deficit. And try and get a number of what that is and how you're going to solve that number first. And that's all we can do that's what his advice was for right now.
Mr. Pratt?
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question for Mr. Madden. So when you speak about nefarious, I was wondering, are you claiming that the current administration is nefarious?
I'm asking you the question.
No, I know, and I'm asking to clarify. When you said there's nefarious activity, are you?
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying you said what you said was there's something nefarious going on.
I didn't say that.
All right, I'm just saying, can you clarify that when you say this?
My question
That's all
is,
I'm asking,
my
that's it.
question is there anything nefarious going on? Because I don't know how we go from 1 million to, I don't know, we don't even have a top number.
Thank you. I just wanted the clarification to understand the question. Thank you.
I don't want words put in my mouth. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm asking the question because I don't understand.
That's why I was just asking the question, just to be clear, to make sure there was no accusations or anything at this point, that's all.
So can I clarify Heather's statement, I guess? So when we talk, the phrase you don't like, structural deficit that our previous attorney used, is deficit from those past audits. The stuff that Heather is talking about right now is stuff
Fiscal
from
year
this
25.
past year.
Okay.
25.
And I understand that now, but I still object to the word, or the term structural deficit, because I think it's deceptive.
But that term talks about the,
We made that up. That's not real. We made that up. We named it.
I don't care.
We named the problem, and then we said we were going to watch it.
I'm just saying, I don't care what the term is.
I think we can
The
set,
deficit
we
is.
can agree that, I think what we can agree
Right.
is that we don't want to use, you're objecting to the word,
Yes,
Okay.
Sean, yes.
and maybe we can come up with a creative word.
So that deficit
But
is
that's
from-
not,
Use the dates. Use the dates.
We're
That's
talking,
fine.
if I may,
So
we're
what we're
talking,
talking about tonight, what the major problem is tonight, is the deficit from last year, from 25,
Yes.
and that's the 1 to 5 million. That range.
I'm sorry, say that again?
From 25,
It-
if I'm correct, the
Correct,
deficit
yes.
we're looking at,
is potentially
am I
Wait,
wrong?
25, 26?
No.
24,
It
25, fiscal year
ends.
25.
It ended fiscal year end June 30, 25.
Okay,
Yeah, we're talking about the deficit you're carrying over from last year into
correct.
this year.
okay. And when we were talking about that in April, the administration only said two things. One, they said all these problems were COVID and prior to the administration and everybody here. And the other thing they said was, we have procedures in place to preclude this from ever happening. So now, everything is off the table.
Was my explanation wrong?
No.
No.
Would you like to respond to, Ms. Henry?
The statement that he's referring to that was made by the previous lawyer.
No, no, sir. The statement I'm referring to was made by you, sir.
Okay, I mean, at this point, you know, what I'm saying is that I'm, you know, in regards to defending what is being accusations, I think if the public wants to know what was actually said or wasn't said, I mean, I won't make a comment, but I'll let the meeting minutes and the previous board meetings speak for themselves, because, you know, I'm not gonna get into, you know, pointing fingers at this point. I'm just saying I'd rather rely on the evidence that the public can find online.
I agree.
Thank you.
But I also want to point out that now 6 months have gone by, and our plan was to watch it. Well, we watched it, we didn't take any action. So management again failed. All of us in this room have failed. It's not the students, it's not the parents, it's not the funding source from whatever, it's not the teachers, it's the people in this room, including myself.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I don't have a question, I have a
Comment.
comment. We are representatives of the community, and we are advocates for students, teachers, educators, families, and we would be offending those people if we were not outraged by this.
We are.
And we are. We have asked the taxpayers of Claremont more times to dip into their pockets to fund what everyone wants, quality schools, well-run schools. We have worked hard the last few years to have that happen. My question, I do have a question, is how do we make sure we're not back here next year asking the same question, having the same conversation? We're in survival mode right now. I don't know, how do we move forward without having information and data that we need? We are obligated to this city to stand up for our families and kids. That's all I have to say.
I think you just said what everybody is feeling.
Yes.
Is there any response about where we could not be here next year?
I can't respond. I think based on moving forward, what we need to look at is what you talked about earlier. We have to look at, we provided the subcommittee yesterday with a list of things that are not required by the Department of Education that need to be looked at. That's the starting point. Is the governor, as the the commissioner said, is that right now we have to solve the cash flow problem for that from 24, 25. That's affecting us able to pay the bills for 25, 26.
All right. Madam President, all right, I vented, I got it out of my system. But don't we tell the taxpayers and the parents, there are no extracurricular activities. Don't expect them this year, probably don't expect them next year. We encourage you to get on VLAX, get onto the RVCC, protect yourselves, because the government has let you down. I mean, shouldn't be, we wasted 6 months already. Shouldn't we be encouraging that?
I think we're here at this meeting being as forthcoming as we
Okay.
possibly can with the information that we have been provided. There's
I'll say
there's
something.
nothing good I can, Bill, there's nothing good I can say about this.
No, I'm not. Heather, you work harder than anybody I know. I know that.
And-
You're the greatest.
And, but to your point, I have to say I concur with you. And I do, as a parent, as somebody who
Yeah.
joined the board because I was so distressed that I had to send my daughter to private school
Yes.
to get the education that I felt that she deserved. And so you're 100% right, Bill, and you and I have talked about this before, is that our goal from
Yes.
being on this board was to elevate this district so that wouldn't happen. So I can't, as a parent and somebody who cares about students, not agree with you 100% that we are going to do everything we
Yes.
can to keep the doors open. The
Right.
administration is looking for ways to make that happen. They are going to bring it forward to the board for our advice, but you're 100%
I
right.
think everybody knows that when I came in here, I had visions of working with Chris and let him take credit for making us #1 in the state, let him write a book, let him do speaking tours, and
Mr. Sprague,
So I was in the meeting last night, and saw the administration's plan. My problem with the plan is it doesn't really, because someone just said, how do we know we're not going to be back here next year? And I saw nothing in that plan that would prevent that. I've sat here on numerous occasions talking about, and I'll call it a disaster, that's special ed. That's what it is, it's a disaster. The overages, the inefficiencies, the mismanagement, it's just a disaster. And I just feel that I didn't see anything in that plan to remediate what I consider to be a dysfunctional system, with no rubrics, no procedures, just whatever. And so, until I see that being addressed, because that is a huge part of the predicament we're in, but there was nothing in that plan to remediate that issue, nothing. And I have a problem with that.
Ms. Crawford?
Where should I begin? One of the things I know is the Finance Committee has spent an awful lot of time. You know of school board meetings, but I don't think people have been following the Finance Committee meetings, and who would? But we have been meeting a lot. And it has been extremely difficult to get information on a regular basis, I will say that. Information that we have asked for and we haven't received. That has been very difficult. I am concerned, I agree 100% with some of you when you're saying I'm not going back to the well and ask the voters for more. I think it's a moot point whether I ask them or not, because I don't think they'll give it to us. However, when I look, I mean, and I was doing some back of the envelope calculation today to say, okay, if the size of the problem is this, and given the tax rate, how much would that impact a house that, if the average house in Claremont is $200,000 valuation, what would the tax impact be? And I thought, there's no way that, I mean, even, I mean, there's so many steps. We'd have to have the board would have to vote to authorize the attorney to go to the courts. Okay, that's one. And you'd have to get a vote in the affirmative from this board. And the second one is the administration would have to identify an actual number to provide to the attorney to go to the judge to ask for the special meeting. We haven't been able to do that. Number three, the judge would have to grant that. And we have been told that that is not likely. You know, if that happened, we would be lucky. If that happened, then the fourth thing is we go to a deliberative meeting. And we all have had experiences in deliberative meetings and how that can go. And this is on top of a regular budget. After the deliberative meeting, we have a vote, a SB2 vote. And then what's the likelihood that that's going to pass? And so I ask, okay, if that is a crapshoot, then what's the alternative? And when you look at the size of our budget and recognize what the portion of our budget is that is going for special education, and you take that out and you try and find savings of $1 to $5 million in a skinny budget. The money isn't there. It is going to be catastrophic, I feel, that's my word, nobody else's, of the impact to this district. And honest to Pete, I don't have any idea of what's going to happen. And I am beyond frustrated. And I can't tell you, damn it, I'm retired. I have been spending full time doing this. I've been spending time going through these reports, figuring it out, highlighting, asking questions, writing out questions, trying to get answers. And it is a very difficult job. I want the public to know that, that this board has been trying to get answers, and we've been trying to get a straight, tell me a number, give me the number, what's the number? And we have not even been able to do that. We don't have it yet. The auditors are working hard. It is not the auditor's fault. I want that pretty clear. It is not the auditors who are delaying this process. The auditors can only do their job if we give them the information on which to do the audits. And we have been extremely slow, very slow, in providing that information to the auditors so that we were going to have 22 audit done, God knows when. And it's still not done. And we're not even addressing that now because full attention needs to be focused on
25.
figuring out 25. What the heck, where are we at the end of 25 so we can know how we get into 26? And right now, I think we've already spent $1.5 million of the 26 money paying the 25 bills. And we don't have that kind of money in the budget. We know we don't have that money. And you hear my frustration. I don't know what the answers are.
Mr. Kosky?
As, with the exception of Jeff, senior central office person, getting my fourth year, we are also working hard, and I know the board is working hard. However, there's a reason we're doing a 22 audit in 24 and 25. And it's not because of this administration. And so it's been difficult when budgets are made on the prior year's bad numbers, that error is carried forward, and then carried forward again, and then carried forward again. And that has happened because we're all new here, and Chris has been here, not even made one budget yet, right?
Just one.
Mary's made one budget. I remember when I arrived, I and other folks had to bribe the accountant to get account numbers to have bills paid. It was such a chaotic system, and I wasn't part of the business administration. I've never been a business administrator. I had no idea the extent of what was being done in that office. But those errors have carried forward, and there's a lot of responsibility to go around. Heard a lot about who everybody thinks to blame is, but I think if we focus more on solutions, we'll serve the city of Claremont better.
Mr. Howard?
I think the solutions is what we want to hear more of. I think we also, I mean, it's easy for anyone to point blame. Very easy for anybody to point blame. But I think what we're, looking at is, like we've already talked about, the first deficit reference is for 22, and this deficit is the last year. So these may be working off screwed numbers, but that number, deficit at the bottom, is this spreadsheet. It's not,
It's not
Right.
so that's a different number than
all the other stuff.
us blaming than the old administration. So I don't want to blame you guys for this. I don't want to blame, just throw blame on them. I want to talk about solutions to this. And I think there's a lot of tension because each time anybody talks about us, I don't think anyone's really talking about solutions. We're just arguing about pointing blame. With that said, I am not a superintendent, nor a BA, nor an assistant superintendent. So the plan really is dependent on your guys' workflow with the auditors and giving that information to us as soon as possible, so we're not here pointing blame at you. And I think that's what we're seeing now is, we thought it was gonna be a slow summer. I think things clearly were more than people anticipated. Different circumstances and people's personal lives might have pushed things back. But now that we're back, I think it was just immediate headbutting. Immediately everybody down each other's throats. And part of that is that there's been a whole summer and we have nothing to reconcile the first deficit and another deficit to look at, with no answers. I mean, to Frank's point, the obvious answer is overspending on special education. That's something maybe to some extent we can't avoid, but when you look at the numbers we budgeted for the previous year versus what we spent, there are massive overages. So again, there's nuance to this. That is my deduction from the information I've been given, and until I get more information from you guys, that's what we're working with. So I agree, it's not helping anybody to point blame. You guys are working off of old books. I think that is going to be the case in any district that any employee goes to. Is they're going to learn a new system. Things aren't great everywhere. You're going to have to improve on what people did in the past. Not saying everybody's going to be perfect and nail on the first run, but there really needs to be, frankly, constant communication. I don't know if I've seen more than a few financial documents directly regarding these things. I've just heard the numbers, and then finally a few emails came through and I've gotten some printouts. But again, I got this week. It's been an entire summer where we could have been looking at this, digesting it, talking to others. I'm a bit disconnected from other members on the board because I'm not on the finance committee. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to say those things in response to Mr. Cossey.
Ms. Crawford and then Mr. Petron.
I would like to be perfectly clear about the deficit in this budget. A lot of it is attributable to special education over expenditures. However, that is by far not the only reason for the deficit. And
Sure, but there is 2.5 million in overtures specifically for special ed based on the printout that we were sent this week. That's unless we're going to get new numbers. I have it in front of me and literally just did the math on paper. Again, I don't want to argue or blame.
right, and
I don't want to say it's special ed or you guys are doing something wrong by over-identifying special ed. I'm just was name dropping that as a viewable number, and until I have something else that I can view that explains what's going on or why we didn't anticipate needing that money or under budgeted, that's what I'm working with.
And all I'm saying is, it is not, I agree 100% with what you're saying about over expenditures in special ed. That is not the only problem.
Totally.
Mr. O'Hearn.
I think contrary to some of the folks from the board and administrative office, I don't think our relationship is as tense as this discussion sort of hints at. I think our conversation yesterday with the finance subcommittee was very collaborative. But I want to also offer assurances that we are making immediate steps to put new procedures and plans in place. One of them is looking at overtime to limit the amount of overtime for staff next year. If we look at hiring, because that's an elephant in the room, why do we have so many FTEs when we look at the budget? We're actively looking at position control, what we can do internally to have clear requisition processes. And these are something I'd be happy to present to the board at future meetings, what we're actively doing right now as an administrative team to handle the situation.
Mr. Petron and then Mr. Madden.
I wanted to kind of echo what Candy was saying, is that I agree that, there's a big overage in special ed, but as I went through the sheets, there's overages everywhere. I mean, I run down the line and I just look at the parentheses, which is negative numbers. They're the lines that are overspent. And the first page, when I went through, 50% of the lines, at least half, are overspent. Page one, if you go, it includes health insurance, so, they play into each other if we have families taking family plans, so it all plays together. But if you go down page one, there's 40-something lines, and 20-some odd are in the negative, overspent. So, yes, there's some uncontrollables in special ed, But there are some things that just should be a hard stop. Some dues and fees that we pay that are, so they may seem like little numbers, but dues and fees that we had budgeted that are overspent. So there's controllables that are, it's just frustrating to see that some of these things are overspent. So I think you guys are working on getting answers, what happened, what was going on, but it's not just special ed, it's regular ed, it's everywhere. So.
Just to give you a clarification, is that what you have in front of you now, it's something that we still are working on the reconciliations for that. So some of those things were changed, some of those things will change, but right now we're still working on the reconciliations for the 24-25 year to get everything, to give a more accurate number, so the auditors can go through it.
Mr. Madden?
This may be pennies, but it's a question I've also been asking and I can't get an answer. When the SAU 6 office was closed for 2 weeks in July, what was everyone charging their time to?
I'm not going to answer something where we're all entitled to our vacation time.
Are you saying, you're implying with that everyone charged vacation?
Some people
I don't-
worked, some people came in.
No, some
to the
people came in,
office.
some people didn't.
Okay, we were told that the office was closed.
To the public, yes, that is accurate.
No, we were told the office was closed.
Close to the public.
To the public, yes.
Well, the way I read it was, we shouldn't be making phone calls either because nobody's working.
May I
Sure.
just very briefly? My understanding as the SAU chair was the SAU office was closed to the public. I was also told that administrators have access to the building 24/7 and would use time to do their work. And that was taken care of with reporting HR, vacation time, whatever it was. People worked, other people took vacation, but the building was closed to the public. And they were trying to get people to come in on certain days so there would always be an administrator there. And I was part of the conversation, I own it, about closing it to the public so that there would not be this one day open, one day shut, one day open, one day shut. In the past, that has happened. There has been great arguing, displeasure in the community about that. It happened. It's done.
It's done, but my concern is this: it's indicative of a total lack of financial control. I got the impression that individuals took it upon themselves to give everyone a 2-week vacation. And when I ask for information, I get stonewalled. So in my mind, when I get stonewalled, I assume the worst.
Let me just
Ms.
say,
Crawford?
yeah, I think that there has been a pattern of not delivering information when the board has asked for it. And I'm sure somebody's going to ask me, give me a specific. I know that the Finance Committee has been asking for expense to budget for 6 months, and that we want that at the end of each month. And we haven't gotten it. And if we had, and I blame myself for not being insistent, being a real pain to not camp out in the SAU office until I get the darn report. And I didn't think I needed to have to do that. I didn't think that as a board member, I had to sit in the office until I got the report. And this has been going on for 6 months. And I have been trying to be a team player and work cooperatively for a long time, and frankly, too long. And that's on me. That's on me. I've had it.
Is there any additional comments from the board? Ms. Ms. Hawkins?
If we go back to the taxpayers, if that process does end up happening, we don't have an answer to that. We will need to know how much we would be going back for and what it will cost us, and that we will not keep going back. I also remind myself that we have a moral obligation to our students and our families to open those doors, to heat those buildings, to keep the lights on, and keep teachers in the classrooms. That's our obligation. And I don't know how it's going to be, Candy, I totally agree with you, but we have to do that. And I don't know what it's going to take, but we have to be there for our children and their families. And I'm so upset by this, as everyone else is. And I give kudos to this board because we can disagree, we can have heated discussions, but we are remembering why we're here. And we need to be here for that and keep our kids in school. That's all. I'm done.
Is there any more comments or questions from the board? Given the topic tonight, I'd like to open public comments, or if anybody has questions, if they'd like to come to the podium. We would request that you come to the podium, state your name, and we would provide you 3 minutes to make a comment or ask a question. Nobody's required, but I feel compelled to offer that to the individuals in the room. Ms. Hope,
Thank you for
Ms.
the
Damon?
opportunity. Hope Damon, State Rep, Sullivan District 8, which includes Claremont. And I sit on the Education Funding Committee at the House. So one fact to note, the state paid 67% of the requested special education funds in fiscal year, in academic year just completed. I'm not a budget expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I would surmise that that's part of the special ed deficit and a very significant issue. Doesn't help yet, but a statute did pass that the most that the state can prorate the special ed appropriation is down to 80%. So going forward, it still won't necessarily be, especially with the state's fiscal crisis, the 100% of expended funds that it should be, but it won't be as low a prorating. I've been hearing a lot of conversation here and text and throughout the day, and folks raise different questions of whether the school district could collaborate with the city and have the city assist with fiscal management or with obtaining a bond issue so that we wouldn't be asking taxpayers for an appropriation that, as has been noted by several, is simply not very likely to pass and just isn't really feasible for most taxpayers to pay. The bond would allow paying over a period of maybe 10 years to eliminate the deficit, and other folks I'm sure have thought of that, but it hasn't been mentioned, so I think it's worth putting out there. And whether there has been any discussion of collaboration with the city would be useful information, I think, for folks to know. I'm sitting here as a person whose kids are grown up, but putting my head in the place of being a parent, if I was listening to this, I'd be both extremely concerned and also be saying, tell me how to plan. Is school going to open, or do I need to make other arrangements for a week or two or something more than that? And with great respect to all of you who are working at trying to figure this out and solve this, for me, listening here, I'm not hearing any specifics about short-term solutions to deal with the cash flow crisis. And I know I'm going to be getting asked about that probably in the next 10 minutes. And I appreciate that the specifics may very well not be known, but any amount of perspective on short-term solutions, I think people are really needing to hear, and thank you very much.
Mr. Pratt?
I mean, what I can tell you with the plan, the short-term plan that we were asked to come up with is that the school is planning on opening when scheduled to open. I can tell you that. Beyond that, I think we need to work together to figure out the long-term. And on the administration to give you the information you need to make the decisions that need to be made to recover.
How long do you anticipate that the schools can stay open, given the plan that's in place now?
The plan that we have in place and now, we anticipate,
I'm gonna say to you, I've got it through September right now and into October is where I plan.
So
Because
for-
I've made arrangements with vendors and such too.
So for that clarity, are you, just so I make sure that it's clear, that the plan that you have in place ensures, without us doing anything else or making any other decisions today, that the plan you have in place will keep the doors open, staff paid, health insurance paid, retirement paid, until the end of October without,
I'm gonna tell you the end of September because I'm working on October because we get our next adequacy aid November 1st or 2nd. So I need to look at how that's gonna play out. I need to talk to a few vendors about that, which I have not had an opportunity to do yet. I'm being honest with you.
no, I appreciate that.
Yep. But I'm confident that we can do that.
How can you have, just bear with me, how can you express that confidence when the deficit number has varied dramatically?
We don't have a choice. I understand, Heather, what you're saying, and I understand bills are not going to get paid, and some are gonna be very late. That's the way it is, and we've spoken to our vendors, they're aware of this. Is the debt gonna accumulate? Yes, but the sooner you make decisions on what you wanna do, helps to slow that accumulation.
So what I'm hearing is that you believe you have enough cash on hand and revenue expected to cover payroll, to cover health benefits, to cover retirement, and all the essentials.
Yes, and other
Until
bills
the-
too, trying to pay off the past due balances within each month.
and the reason we're able to do that, quite honestly, is because we've spent a lot of time working with school care to work with us on a payment plan for the school care. And the other thing is that, the city is, releasing the money to us earlier, a week earlier than is needed, so that plan, that short-term plan that we have in place for August, September, October.
Mr. Sprague, and I'll get back to you, Mr.
Yeah, I just want to make a clarifying point about what Ms. Damon had said. When you're talking about the 67%, what you're talking about, it used to be catastrophic aid, and it's special ed aid. That money is not for the general special ed. That money is for extraordinary costs. And so if a student is in a very expensive placement, for example, we reach a certain cap, and above that, the state pays the 67%. So it does not compensate for the whole special ed bill.
Before we move on to Mr. Merchant, does anybody on the board have any further questions about, that they can pose to the administration about, is there anything else that can be offered to you, or that we can offer to the public to give any assurances? Mr. Merchant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Gary Merchant, citizen of Ward 2 in Claremont, New Hampshire. I think at this point in time, what really needs to be accomplished is to work on the solution, which means working collaboratively. And forget about trying to point fingers, forget about who's to blame and so forth, but that you could do another day. Right now, we have a crisis. And it's nice to have budgets, Ms. Henry, but I think what's critical right now is a very detailed, and I mean detailed, solid information about a cash flow and how the cash flow is gonna happen, what's coming in, what's going out. You're in a position, Ms. Henry, to put that together, and I think it needs to be done within the next 48 hours.
I have that. We had to submit it to the state.
So that needs to be shared.
It
So
was shared with the board.
the board's seen
Shared
it?
with our attorney. The August and September schedule that we gave to the state.
No, he's talking about a bigger,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about, I apologize, Gary.
No,
I
thank you.
misunderstood you.
Because right now,
Yep.
my concern is this, Ms. Henry. If we open the school and we run into a cash flow crisis beyond what we have today, and it's the end of September, it's going to be truly, truly unfair to the students to close the school down. I would advocate for you folks to consider delaying the opening of the school until this thing is solved. No one's going to like it. It's not going to be well received, but it's better to postpone the issue for a few weeks and then have the school year go into June if we have to. But to open the school with this uncertainty and that risk being so high, I think it's truly unfair to the parents, to the students, and to everyone else. I'm not saying it's a solution, but until we come up with a viable solution, I think it's something for the board to consider. And I think the cash flow, a detailed cash flow statement, understand what's coming in, what's going out, who's getting paid, who's getting delayed, is critically important. That's what you folks are facing, is cash. And trying to figure out what you have, where it's coming from, when it's coming in, and at that point in time, when it's going out. But that's my recommendation. But first and foremost, as you work on that solution, put the knives away. Sit down, collaborate. You can take the knives out afterwards, but let's get people working together to find that solution, and then you can take the knives out. That's my piece. Thank you.
I just, one reaction, and I don't know how valid it is. One of the concerns, if we put off the opening of school, so much of the expenses that a school district has are already
Cooked in.
already cooked in.
Still have to
I
pay
mean,
people.
obviously, payroll is the biggest, and those are contractual. And we have it's contractual. So delaying it 2 weeks doesn't really accomplish anything, except the kids aren't in class. So while I hear what you're saying and understand why you're saying it, because of the way the budget is, the way our district is funded, that's,
It wouldn't
It wouldn't
save
save- it
us
wouldn't save
anything.
us
It wouldn't
anything.
stop,
Right.
it wouldn't stop
Right.
anything, yeah.
A second thing is, this afternoon when I was meeting with the auditor, I asked him, Hope, the question that you raised, and I said, the question I had was, I can do the calculation and I know there's no way in hell that this is gonna pass. And so if I'm going to, if I'm trying to manage money and I'm asking for a big nut and whatever, you know, $2, $3, $4 million to be paid over 1 year, that's a heck of a nut to crack. And so could we do it, I mean, like a bond, like do it over 10 years? And the auditor, and Frank helped me, he was very discouraging about that. And he said, first of all, right, the school district can't borrow the money. The city has to, and the city has to be convinced. And that's gonna be a hard nut to crack, because I don't think there's any way in heck that they could see.
Well, they don't want to pay, he said they don't want to pay the interest.
Can I just add a clarification so you don't spend too much time going down the road of bonding or borrowing money? Under current law, neither the city nor the school district can borrow money to pay for debt.
For debt.
The city can take a tax anticipation note, but I believe the city has been informed by its council that it wouldn't be allowed to do that for the purpose of bailing out the school district. So, like, that's,
A non-starter.
the solution here is maybe the legislature makes a change or something. But under current law, there is no fix that I'm aware of. Like, there's no borrowing money to pay off this debt.
If I can be of any help,
Thank you.
okay, that's all I'm trying to say. I don't have all the answers, but if I can try to help problem solve it, mediate what it's going to be, this is critically important to the community I grew up in. It's important to our students and our parents and taxpayers, but if I can be of assistance in any capacity within reason, I'd be more than glad to help, okay?
Thank you, Gary.
And Gary, we appreciate your effort, and our responses are simply to share information that in the process of working on this, we have explored a number of solutions, and we've asked for, research on this, or could we do this, could we do this? And all those doors have been closed. They aren't options. And that's where our frustration is right now.
Well, one of the things to consider, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people in the community talking about this in the next 24 to 48 hours, is trying to help them understand what are some of the things you have considered that may not work, but at least shows to the community you folks have explored solutions, even though those solutions may not work out. But I think if we don't go to the community and let them know that you have considered solutions and things that work it through, I don't think it's going to play as well, because it's going to be hiding behind information and so forth, which I don't think is being transparent. That's all.
Fair.
Okay.
Mr. Merchant, just to your point, that's the number of solutions that are available to us are,
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons
Yes.
we met with the commissioner and BRA and the Bureau of School Finance, was to have a conversation with them.
what's the options?
I'm a lawyer, I know pretty much all the laws. We have the largest public finance group in northern New England. I've tapped all of the bond and public finance lawyers in my office. Hey, can you help here? It's a legislative issue. I mean, districts in New Hampshire we are very limited in terms of what we are able to do. So that's where we're at. Part of what we're doing here is bringing this to everyone's
Right.
attention, because this is a bigger issue for the state of New Hampshire, and the fix is not a local fix. It may have to be a state fix. So I'm glad you raised that. I'm glad you're here. While I have the floor, can I say two things? I need to say two things. Special education costs are out of control. Part of that is the legislature's fault, and I'm going to be very blunt here. You guys increased the age to 22, and no one said that that was going to have a fiscal impact on the state of New Hampshire or the school districts. The second thing is, you shifted the burden of proof onto the school districts to show that they were providing appropriate special ed services. We can't push back on parents. It's impossible. We are in a position now where special ed directors basically have to say yes. 2 years ago, there were 20 cases at the DOE. This year, there were 5 cases at the DOE. The districts lost all 5 of them. We have no motivation to go and actually try to prove that we don't have to provide services, because we can't win those cases. So we mediate and settle every single case. I have a team of 5 attorneys in my office. We represent a huge number of school districts in New Hampshire. You are not the only one that saw extraordinary special ed costs go up. I'm sure your special ed services director can confirm this. It's easy to say yes to the issue, because it sounds easy to shift the burden to school districts to show something. The minute you did that, that had an immediate impact, and we are all seeing the increase in special ed costs. I'll get off of my soapbox now, but there are legislative things that we can do that aren't going to hit school districts quite so hard on the local taxpayer side.
Given that we're at 9:30 right now, I think in order to close, we should outline what our next steps are and what our next meeting is going to entail and what is going to happen between Thursday and next Wednesday. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, just, so it relates to what you're saying. So I would like a directive for the board to move forward in regards to, we're gonna move forward anyways, but it helps with a clear directive from the board saying, this is it. This is what we're asking from you so we can deliver.
We're asking for you to figure out what to do. Figure out the cash flow issue, to give us a plan. We are not educators, we are not business administrators. We're asking you to give us a number of options, tell us why A is good, B is good, C is good, or which one's better than the other, and to provide us all the information that we need to make an informed decision.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just help for a minute too? I think the Commissioner of Education sent an email to the superintendent and to the board chair. I was copied on the email. She provided some really clear guidance. Her email is very clear. She says, while there are a lot of other things happening, cash flow is the priority. So she has asked for a detailed cash flow statement starting with the current cash balance and covering through the end of September, showing all expenses, including all remaining payables from 25 through 26, which is essentially what you were asking. Not just payroll, don't just pick what we think are the mandatory ones, all of them. Include the planned disbursements from the state and from the city, and list adequacy payments, or we already have that for September, not August, because adequacy is not coming in August, it's coming in September. I think that's a really good starting place for looking honestly at cash flow. And so I would say, if I'm on the administrative side, I know you're already doing it, that's the starting place I would go for right now. The second thing is, we are having conversations, all of us, about, I call it a financial recovery plan. In other states other than New Hampshire, there's legislation that governs this whole entire situation, where they put school districts in financial distress. They assign a state auditor who oversees and comes in and helps the district and looks through the books and provides support. We have none of that in New Hampshire. That probably is tied to how New Hampshire funds school districts and whether they want to insert themselves into the process of controlling school districts. And I find it incredibly ironic that we're in Claremont facing this situation and having this conversation right now. But we can imitate and mimic some of what happens in terms of that recovery plan. I've already talked to the administration and the board about trying to get a business administrator with a CPA background to come in and help and provide support. That, I think, is something we're going to work on as tomorrow and Monday. I have phone calls, I have people I'm going to call. We're going to try to find other people to come in who can help out. We're going to put a plan with the superintendent and the BA of where we can make cuts, and we're going to try to figure out where we can save money in the budget. This is something that's happening. It's fluid right now. If that's helpful, I'm hopeful it is, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
So the question is so between today and our meeting on Wednesday, what should we anticipate?
We anticipate of giving you what you guys are asking for, which is a broken down version of actually, what we are bringing to you that can be cut, that is not required by law. We're going to also get
I have all the lists.
the list of the spending. We're going to try to get as much as we can into the 24-25 to reconcile that as much as possible. There's a lot of information to go through, but it is our goal to work tirelessly to get that information so we can come up with a recommendation to the board so you guys can make the decisions you need to make.
Mr. Madden?
When we first broached this issue, Mary said September, and then I think she rethought that, the end of September, and then I heard October. So I have my doubts, so I'd like to see it, a weekly breakdown, even if you only divide by 4 in a month. Because, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it, I don't believe it, and I think you're gonna crash September 1st.
Ms. Crawford, and then I think we need to, unless there's some.
I would just like to just say that this board, members of the board have had a lot of discussion of whether to bring this tonight to the public because we didn't have all the information. And we wanted to be able to give the public as much information as we could because that's our job. And we have been debating that. However, we don't have the information, but we do not feel comfortable. We cannot, in my soul, I can't keep it to myself anymore. the public needs to know what the situation is. And so, excuse us, please, for not having all the information tonight or having all the solutions, but we needed to share the concern and the current state of what our finances are.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so moving forward, the expectation, we will have an agenda created with amendments to that agenda to reflect what was discussed this evening as far as actionables for next Wednesday.
Are you saying we will have a plan in front of us next Wednesday?
That is what I asked Mr. Pratt.
I'm
That is the
saying yes.
expectation.
Okay.
That we will have options, we will have the documentation that has been requested by the commissioner, and the
We'll get a
budget.
copy of the cash flow also that goes to the
Everything.
commissioner?
Will we get it ahead of time?
I'm sorry?
Well, I don't know what your thought is, how early you can get it to us, but we have to review it before Wednesday.
That's my point.
Okay,
Can we get it 24 hours or 48 hours before?
24.
24? Okay. If there is no objection, meeting adjourned?
No objection.